And we're back, ladies and gentlemen, on our scheduled programming. You know, given Kuwait's climate, with its intense heat and dust, along with the widespread influence of skincare content on social media, skin health has become an important topic, and that topic is worth addressing. Between challenges related to a weakened skin barrier, the need for daily sun protection, and the increasing prevalence of sensitive skin and rosacea, I hope I pronounced that right, many questions arise about proper skincare practices and how to distinguish between scientifically sound advice and misleading trends. In this following interview, we shed light on these key topics with a dermatology specialist. With that being said, I do want to welcome Dr. Ahmad Almutairi, Senior Specialist in Dermatology at Farwaniya Hospital. That was a long introduction, but you're worthy of it. Welcome on the show.
Thank you very much for having me this morning. It is quite an honor to share our insight, especially that I represent Kuwait Society of Dermatologists. So it's an important subject, especially with our environment, to shed some light on this topic.
It is an important topic, and you know, I specifically wanted to be in this interview because I think, you know, skincare and skin health, especially for men, is a really important topic, but it's not being discussed that much in the, you know, in our, let's say, friends and families and all of them. You know, a lot of our friends just wake up, throw some water, and then just go about their work. But skin health is very important. With that being said, I do want to start the talk about Kuwait's climate and how it plays a role in skin health, especially here in Kuwait. Like, how does, you know, the climate affect our skin, and where does it come from, you know, that affection?
Yeah, the importance of climate on our skin and skin barrier is highly have been showed in scientific papers that it has an important role. So in Kuwait we have a little bit of harsh environment in terms of the difference in seasonality is quite major. So we move from a little bit of somewhat dryish winter into really harsh summer. And that shift has a great impact on our skin type and skin barrier. So we need to focus on what happens in terms of seasonality and to try to adapt.
Yeah. Now, you did mention skin barrier several times. What is skin barrier?
The skin barrier is the outer layer of our skins. Below it is where our immune cells lay.
So basically this one's the skin barrier?
Yeah, the outer part, it's composed of different layers, and a lot of our immune system's cells lay under this layer, so it has an important role to protect us from the external environment, whatever is the external environment is. Once this skin barrier is breached, then we are susceptible to get infections, for example, or allergens, which cause the skin rashes or eczema, atopic dermatitis. So this is our defense against the environment outside.
Now, speaking about it being a defense, a lot of people may do something unknowingly that is harmful to our first line of defense. Like what those habits could be, you know, some unknowingly things people do that are affecting their skin and their skin barrier very negatively.
Sure. First, once if they have a medical condition, they need to get it diagnosed, and then they need a specific treatment for that type of disease they had. So they need to restore their skin barrier in order to bring back the normal function. So these are specific topics for specific diseases. Yeah. However, when we talk about the general populations, what they need to do is to examine their skin type. If they have difficulty, they can seek help from an expert, and they have to take it a little bit slow. They don't need to use multiple treatment or multiple topicals that they apply without, you know, knowingly what type of ingredients they have. So they have to start slow and then build the routine into a better full, let's say, full program.
And you know, speaking about routine, how can the skin barrier, how can people, you know, repair their skin barrier and put it in a more safe kind of precautions?
Sure. They need to use firstly a topical treatment or a moisturizer, so that's bring the skin a little bit, it makes it a little bit humid, and it prevents the water loss, so our skin is intact and it has all its needs to maintain a good barrier against the external aggressors.
Yeah.
Then once this has been taken care of, we focus on protection. Now moving into protection, we have to protect our skin type from or skin from the sun. So we need to have a sunblock. This is extremely important, especially in our skin type where we are a little bit darker, skin of color, they call it in the medical literature. So we have to take care of the sun.
Now, I'm glad you brought up the topic of the sun because it leads to my next question, because a lot of people, and you know, myself and my family included, we only think of sun protection as something you put when you're taking a swim in the beach or in the swimming pool. But you know, from looking into it, that's wrong, right? You got to use sun protection all the times.
Exactly.
So I guess my question is, how important is using sunscreen, especially here in Kuwait, with our climate, with our sun, and all of that?
It's very important because now it is quite trendy that people are aware of the importance of sunblock, because a lot of trends we see online and people are taking pictures, selfies, so they want to be at the best version of their skin. Yes. So now they are aware that, because they are aware that the sun will cause damage to the skin and then will cause wrinkles, aging, so they take care of themselves because of that side. But as well, we have a lot of diseases and skin condition that is worsened by sun exposure. For example, some of them are serious diseases like lupus, which is an autoimmune disease, or some conditions that are aggravated by sun, like some allergy or skin rashes. We call them photodermatitis, the inflammation of the skin caused by exposure to the sun. So these are the medical conditions. The previous type of people, they look into sunblock because they want to prevent aging, prevent wrinklings, look the best version of themselves.
Yeah. And you know, speaking about all of the good things that sunblocking, you know, creams do, what could be some uses that people use that reduces its effectiveness, you know, misusing of sunscreen and sunblocking?
Sure. This is one of the common mistakes, because people sometimes, when they use the whatever, being treatment, sunblock, moisturizers, or a hair treatment or whatever, sometimes they don't estimate the amount necessary to get the benefits. So they have to apply gently, but as well generously, a good amount of the sunblock cream or fluid or whatever they prefer to use in terms of textures. They need to cover the whole face correctly, and then they have to reapply it, especially if they are exposed to the sun and during the day. We always say that you need to apply the sunblock at least 10 to 15 minutes before going into the external environment, and reapply it every 2 hours or 2.5 hours. The exception is if you apply mineral, which act fast, then you can apply them and you can go outside straight away. But people, they don't like it a lot because of the textures. It's called a little bit of white cast, and especially men, they don't like to look like you know, applying something on the skin.
Yeah, but I think, you know, when it comes to health, you know, the fear of how you look should not overcome the health benefits.
Exactly.
Yeah. With that being said, so someone like me who doesn't know a lot about sunscreen and sunblocking stuff, and I walked into the pharmacy, how can I choose a product that is good for me and good for my skin?
This is a very good topic. You need to examine your skin type, check if you have hypersensitive skin. You know, your skin gets irritated easily, then you have to go with minerals, because they don't contain a lot of irritant in them. They are developed for these type of people who have very sensitive skin. Then you have to check if you have an oily skin. You will favor more fluid, watery type of sunblock textures, because they prevent the you know, clogging the skin pores. Or you have to have some active ingredient that you know, dry that excess of oil. If you have some issues with pigmentation, then you need to get an extra layer that protects you from visible light, not only ultraviolet light. which most sunblock protect against ultraviolet light, but very few protect against visible light, which is important for skin pigmentation. So if you have melasma, like a condition that causes hyperpigmentations, patches on the skin, which affect people a lot, then you have to focus on protecting from visible light and blue light especially.
Oh, okay. So basically know your skin, and then you will find a product that fits your kind of skin type.
Sure.
Yeah.
And if you have a difficulty, you have to seek out help, which is really important in this day where social media spreads sometimes misinformation.
It is. And for my next question, I am going to read it from the teleprompter because I think I mispronounced the word, so I hope I don't mispronounce it again. What is the difference between sensitive skin and rosacea in terms of symptoms? Did I pronounce that right?
Rosacea, yeah.
Rosacea, okay.
Correctly. Sensitive skin is a skin that is fragile and it is susceptible to irritation either from applying products or getting exposed to the environment very easily. Rosacea is a medical condition which is very complex. It consists of skin barrier abnormality, that layer that protects us against the outside aggressors, and some component of inflammation, susceptibility of certain parasite called Demodex, which is naturally inhabit our follicles, the hair bulbs, and other component, which is the nervous system as well. It's very complex disease. So sensitive skin and rosacea are very closely associated, because if you have rosacea, you have an exceptional risk of having sensitive skin, but you can have sensitive skin without having a medical condition, we call it rosacea.
Now, what could be the main triggers for making your skin sensitive or rosacea?
Yeah, there are variable genetic aspects that play an important role in having susceptibility to have a sensitive skin. Medical conditions such as that impact the skin barrier, such as atopic dermatitis, which is, we call it eczema, and if you have sensitivity to the ultraviolet light, like we called upon the photodermatitis, which is the diseases induced by exposure to ultraviolet light, mainly the sun, and if you have rosacea, which is an inflammatory condition, which makes your skin susceptible as well to aggressors from the outside.
Yeah. And now, say someone has rosacea, does their skincare routine changes from someone who's just looking to take care of their skin, or is it basically the same kind of thing?
It changes a lot.
Oh, okay.
Okay, if you have rosacea, you have to be extra careful. Now we move into the cautious category. You have to be careful of what you select. First, you have to control your inflammation. This is the most important step, is control the inflammation, bring the inflammation down, because if you have skin inflammation, you have your skin barrier is not functioning normally, so whatever you apply, it will not work, or maybe it makes things worse. So you have to control the inflammation, the first important step, with medication, and then we move on to the skincare that we need to apply. We have to protect against the sun, because we know that sun exposure aggravates rosacea and can move it from one grade to another grade. And then when we choose moisturizers or whatever, our facial wash, we have to test. With rosacea and sensitive skin, we highly encourage people to take a sample, taste it before they apply a generous amount, because once we know that this is safe, we can apply more of it. So you have to test, because it's difficult to know without testing that this suits you or not.
Now, of course, with everything, like you say, I love how you emphasize the idea of, seeking medical advice first before you do any of these things, because, taking the words from professionals is always more important than just going following ChatGPT or whatever it says.
Yeah.
So I do want to thank you, Dr. Almutairi, for joining us, and I do want to give you the platform to say just one last thing. If some people can change just one little thing out of their daily habit to have better skin protection, what could that be?
I think if they seek out the correct information Unfortunately, we lack authority in the social media. We cannot, correct everyone, or we are not aware of the trends that happens in social media.
It's often information overload.
Yeah, we are being overwhelmed with a lot of information, and when we get exposure to the social media. So I would highly recommend people to not follow blindly the trends, because sometimes they are harmful. They can worsen what you have as a problem. So seek out an expert help. There is no harm of getting a second opinion.
Yeah. Well, I do want to thank you for joining us, for saying a lot of helpful words, especially when it comes to a topic that is not discussed a lot. So thank you for being our guest, Dr. Ahmad Almutairi, on Good Morning Kuwait.
Thank you very much for having me today.
Thank you. And also thank you, dear viewers, for tuning in. We are going to take a very quick break, so stay tuned.